My name is Indira Sharvekar, International Art Director for Toning Guy and also Label M. My look is called the contour. It's a short, strong and graphic shape, a dented wedge line and tapered nape. The fringe is the focal point with overlapping ridges for the top layers to give a movable editorial finish. The whole inspiration of this haircut is all about the history of feathers in fashion. One of my favorite designers is actually Alexander McQueen. He created clothes in the fall of 2009, which the whole dresses were made out of feathers. He also made little caps, so little hats on the model, and they look like little haircuts. So I really wanted to recreate a little haircut with that kind of technique and feeling. We're starting with using protein spray, spraying it from the roots to the ends. We're subdividing the head into, starting from the center hairline to the center nape, and then from the top of the crown to the top of the ear, creating a radial parting. A horizontal parting is taken below the curvature of the head, starting from the side hairline to the radial. This line is continuing through the back with a half halo section from the radial to occipital bone. The top front area is subdivided with a W parting to separate the fringe from the layer. Starting through the back, where we want to create the shortest length of the haircut, using diagonal back sections starting behind the ear, establish the length using the top of the ear as a reference. The hair is then elevated at 45 degrees and cut from long to short to build up a graduation. This is continued on both sides until reaching the last section in the center, where we'll over-direct to the previous section to maintain some weight. Continuing my technique through the front area, using the guide from the back and combing the hair at natural fall and 1 finger's depth. Cut square through the finger to create a dented graphic futuristic wedge. Repeating the same on the opposite side to get a strong balanced shape. Internally behind the radial, my section are now diagonally back curved section, comb to hair to natural fall, and using a stationary 45-degree graduation, following the guide I created below. Continuing my technique till the crown. Really making sure that I'm combing the guideline from underneath at 45 degrees and keeping that stationary, and really make sure that my line is very strong so that I bring it always to the same distribution, 45. What is as well really important is that I keep moving my body around the shape, so I keep a nice rounded shape through the back area. If you would like to make it a little bit softer, a little bit more feminine, you could bring this elevation a little bit higher every single time, so you would slightly round off the graduation. Releasing the fringe and combing it natural fall, then working a short, slightly round the fringe area using shallow point cutting through the fringe. Once I have my desired length, we are using vertical section starting at the center, over-directed forward, cutting square, using the shortest point of the fringe as a guide, taking my next section vertically and create an opposite layering technique, elevating it into the opposite direction, 90 degrees to over-direct and work square, using the longest part of the fringe as a guide. Continuing this technique, alternating each section until the fringe is complete, creating a ridging effect. Now moving on the top section, using the longest length of the first center section of the fringe in the center of the W as the guide, using horizontal section and over-direct it to the guide and cut square. continuing till no hair is left to bring forward. I really want to maintain a little bit more weight. I want to keep the perimeter area, the outline area, much stronger, and also the top area a little bit more heavier. Therefore, I'm bringing everything forward towards my fringe area, so the crown area maintains length and weight. So I just finished to cut the top area, and like you can see now, I have an overlap, and that is actually very important for me because now I can connect the side area and even more build out that stacked out, that futuristic line through the side area. We're now drying the hair before we personalize, and the reason why is that once you're drying, you can really see where it's too heavy or where there is some disconnection that need to be blended in a little bit more. Another thing that is very important when you're personalizing is to not over personalize, especially as well in my fringe area. Obviously, using different disconnection, you can start to see that strong pattern. And again, what is important is to not destroy that. A scissor over comb technique is worked in the front to remove the corner of the hairline and continuing the technique in the back, starting in the hairline into the graduation, keeping the comb as parallel to mirroring the shape, maintaining the point and weight in the center nape. So I'm literally working mainly through the back area of the crown area and work with the 90 degrees elevation and work with deep point cutting technique. Now what I'm doing is really keeping my finger quite far away from the outline and then using my blades parallel to the hair and work with my scissors open and closing and go quite into the hair. So I'm removing a lot of length and weight so that the shape is a little bit more blended. The technique is completely ready for color. So before we're drying it off, we're using a little bit of thickening cream, applying it into the roots. We blow dry the hair and starting to use a paddle brush and moving the hair into different directions. Now what I wanted to do is just to create a little bit more straightness through the side area. I'm using the small label M straightening irons to really give the strength on the side and the futuristic feel. Once I'm happy with the finish, I'm using a little bit of matte paste, placing it into my hand and applying it from the roots into the length, placing the hair into the finish that I wanted to create. Make sure that the sides are a little bit more stacked out and the fringe is nice and separated, really giving me that editorial finish. I'm finishing off now with hairspray to really give that hold and strength and futuristic finish. That is the finish of the contour haircut. Label M is really important because product actually doing the finish. Obviously our haircuts and techniques bringing out new trends, but without the products we wouldn't be able to style the way that the trend is at the moment. And if you look at the campaign right now, there is a lot of this dryness into the textures. And again, without all of our products, we wouldn't be able to recreate that. This year is all about young editorial finishes and much more grungy, is much more editorial, is fresh and is exciting. I think lexicon is the perfect way to describe this. A haircut inspired by feather in fashion that shouts young, fresh and bold, and that makes the contour.